Roll for Initiative by Prak. Read by Goombasa. Week 1. Roll for Initiative. "You're going to die if you keep going," said the ghost of Star Swirl the Bearded. "As if! There is nothing in this musty old temple that can stop me," Daring Do replied, moments before her hoof tripped yet another pressure plate. A rapid series of clicks was her only warning before the low, narrow hallway was filled with a rain of arrows. Daring darted back and forth as she made her way to the other side of the trap, and although she avoided most of the projectiles, a few found their mark. By the time she made it to the other side of the trap and the firing mechanism shut down, it was unlikely she could survive another hit. Regardless, she struck a confident pose and bowed theatrically to her companions. "You see? Nothing can stop Daring Do, the mistress of Her monologue was cut short as the trap door beneath her hooves fell open, but her quick reaction saved her once again, and her arrow-riddled wings popped open and held her aloft. Beneath her, the flickering torchlight reflected off sharp, metal edges. Ahem. As I was saying, nothing can stop... The ceiling collapsed, and Daring Do was pushed down into the pit. Rainbow Dash's hooves dug deep into her mane as she screamed. Again.
"What the hey, Twy? A falling ceiling? You just put that there to get me killed."
"Yes, of course I did," Twilight said, rolling her eyes as she put the screen in front of her down. "I only set it up that way to kill you in particular. It couldn't possibly have anything to do with the fact that the temple's builders would have wanted to make sure it was safe from all kinds of creatures, including Pegasi and Griffins. It's really no pony's fault but your own. Star Swirl even told you there was danger ahead."
"Whatever," muttered Rainbow. "I can just erase the numbers and roll new ones again, right?"
"Yes, Rainbow. Your new character can catch up with the group when you finish."
"Okay, y'all, let's hurry up and make some progress while there ain't nothing slowing us down," Applejack said, smirking.
"Agreed, but you'll need to lead the way," said Rarity. "None of us can detect traps, and you're the most likely to survive them." Twilight raised an eyebrow. "Rarity, bards can find traps too, you know." "I suppose we can, but my dexterity is woefully low, and I wasn't willing to sacrifice points from performance and persuasion." With a sigh and a shake of her head, the DM set her screen back up and resumed the game.
"I guess I'll be taking the lead from here, y'all," the Paladin announced. She took her time to carefully prod every stone along the way, scribbling marks on every one that wiggled. The group soon passed the arrow trap and hopped across the spiked pit, not even bothering to spare a glance downward at the carcass of the short-lived rogue. After all, there was no way to loot her gear. Before long, the path opened into a larger chamber, and the group moved into a defensive formation. At the front were 2 earth ponies. The Paladin, whose white coat was barely visible beneath the heavy armor, and a solid black stallion named Crusher, whose only armor was the heavy scabbard across his back. Behind them stood the 2 unicorns, the maroon-coated bard, Noble Gem, and the pink sorceress, Swirly Sparks. The chamber was large with several outstanding features. What had once been a hall of worship was now a den of horrors. The walls were lined with torture devices and tools. A few tables with new leather straps were installed in the center of the room, and there were the obligatory half-rotted corpses laying around the room, of course. As the group took a few steps inside, the door slammed shut behind them. A booming voice assaulted their ears and rattled the objects in the room, sending the tools hanging on the walls clattering onto the blood-stained floor.
"So, you have made it this far, heroes. Well done, though I see not all of you have been so fortunate."
"Don't y'all be worrying about us none," said the Paladin. "Even without daring, we're plenty capable of beating your zombie ponies. Not to mention, a new rogue should be getting here any time now."
Wait, Twilight said, slapping her screen down onto the table again. "AJ, your character doesn't know that a new one will be arriving soon. Besides, what makes you think there are zombies?" One of Applejack's eyebrows raised slightly.
Twy, you said there are corpses on the floor? That means they're gonna get up, and we're gonna fight 'em." I know I said there are corpses, but that doesn't always mean there's going to be a fight. Darling, I'm afraid the scenario is rather transparent, Rarity said between taking sips of soda from a teacup. This isn't necessarily a bad thing, though. After all, there's nothing else to do in this room but fight, so it's not like some big surprise was ruined. Yeah, Twy, it's totally obvious the zombies are gonna get up and be all grrrr. Pinky hopped up and stood on her hind legs, throwing a series of punches at the air in front of her. And we're gonna be like all whap and pow and zowie until we beat them all. Suddenly, she froze in mid-punch. Oh wait, we don't have any bat ponies in the party. Twilight's eyes glazed over momentarily as Pinky sat down, but she quickly shook her head and returned to lucidity. Close enough. Now, can I get back to finishing Sombra's monologue so we can get this apparently obvious fight started? Sombra? Rainbow Dash yelled. Seriously? That's your villain? King Sombra? Enough! Yes, Sombra is the villain, and if you don't like it, make sure you kill him. That way, you never have to see him again. Twilight's magic snapped the DM screen back into position.
Now, where was I? Mused Sombra. Oh yes, I remember now. I don't care how many of you there are. You will all serve me in death, just like them.
About time, the paladin said as the party drew their weapons. Meanwhile, the zombie ponies around the room stood up and silently decided the order they would attack in. Swirly Sparks was the first to act, firing a spread of magic missiles into the chest of the nearest undead, staggering it momentarily, but failing to kill it. Crusher made the next move, charging ahead and cleaving 2 zombies with his oversized axe. Several more moved in to flank him, but their attacks were mostly ineffective. The paladin channeled her holy powers at the enemies surrounding Crusher, instantly reducing several of them to dust and giving the barbarian a way to escape if necessary. A few of the shambling monstrosities responded by lurching in her direction. Their attacks were all harmlessly repelled by her shield. Noble Gem pulled out her lute and plucked at the strings with her magic, singing along with the melody. Star Swirl's ghost joined in and made it a duet. Suddenly, the door was splintered by a mighty buck as the 4th Daring Do made her entrance. "Don't worry, guys, I got this," she said, taking a moment to strike a heroic pose before charging towards the group of zombies. As she reached the closest one, she spun around and aimed for its head. Applejack and Pinkie Pie roared with laughter, while Rarity and Fluttershy giggled. Twilight and Rainbow simply face-hooved. The result of the attack die was a 1. An instant miss, and depending on the whims of Twilight's dice, possibly something much worse. Daring Do's poorly aimed buck sent her tumbling past the intended target, right into the middle of the crowd. As the zombies fell upon her to take advantage of her disorientation, the heroes with especially sensitive ears could make out her last words. "This game is stupid!" With the zombies clustered around the Pegasus's remains, Swirly took advantage of the opportunity by launching a fireball into their midst. Although she destroyed every undead in the blast radius, she had neglected her original target, which closed the gap and mauled her. Crusher killed a few more undead, but the counterattack did much more damage than before. The paladin tried to position herself to assist, but couldn't move far without leaving Noble Gem vulnerable. The bard continued to play her song. The sorceress put another magic missile into the chest of her attacker, dropping it for good, then moved to a safer location, calling for the bard to do the same. At that moment, several dozen extra zombies dropped through the trap doors in the ceiling.
I think I need to go into rage now, said Crusher. If it's okay with all of you, that is.
After a chorus of hasty agreements, the barbarian looked down at the bracelet above his hoof. On it, 5 letters were engraved. WWIWD.
When zombies attack, he whispered.
"Make their skulls crack!" Fluttershy screamed. With her eyes wide and pupils narrowed to pinpricks, she picked up the dice and slammed them down onto the table. The result was a critical hit and an extremely deceased monster. She rolled again. "Was that really one of Iron Will's slogans?" Twilight asked as the body count continued to rise. Rarity grinned back at her. "Does it really matter?" The panting black barbarian stood amidst a pile of bloody, half-rotted corpses, most of them sliced neatly in half. Across the room, the paladin shrugged and ran away from the group she had been fighting. The bard was hot on her hooves, still playing her lute and singing. Starswirl remained behind and distracted the undead by making funny faces. Crusher's turn soon arrived again, and he charged into the remaining cluster of zombies. 2 hours, a few encounters, and 10 ill-fated daring-dos later, the party of intrepid adventurers, guided by Starswirl's ghost, finally reached the necromancer's inner sanctum. King Sombra sat upon a throne of bones, flanked by figures wearing black hooded robes, 7 on each side. "Your reign of terror ends here, you beast!" Noble Gem said.
"Ah, yes, the bard."
Sombra hardly looked at her, instead keeping his attention on the wineglass levitating in front of him.
"I have been watching you. Your confidence would be cause for concern if you had so much as scratched any of my minions. I don't believe you drew your blade even once, did you?"
"Hey, just because she didn't do any fighting doesn't mean she didn't help, you mean Mr. Necromancy Pants," Swirly said. Sombra's gaze flicked over to her briefly before returning to the liquid swirling in his glass.
"Swirly sparks, is it? Your power is impressive. It will serve me well when you belong to me."
The paladin drew her sword and held it at the ready. "I reckon you won't be owning any of us, Sombra. We're gonna show you what's what."
"I know of you well. Celestia's faithful paladin, Lighthooves."
A round of snickers went across the table. Even Twilight failed to keep a straight face. Applejack scoffed and stamped a hoof on the table. "Again with the laughing. I keep telling you, Lighthooves is a perfectly respectable name for a paladin. I don't get why y'all think it's so funny."
"Lighthooves," Sombra said with a bit of a snicker. "Celestia's light may protect you from being turned into one of the undead, but you can still die. And after I strike you down, I will make your friends eat the remaining flesh from your bones."
Yeah. We hear a lot of big talk, but not much action," Daring Do said, stepping forward with her wings flared. "Are your goons there just for show, or are we gonna fight any time soon?"
"Yes, Miss Dew. We will fight. Before we do, however, you might want to pick up your robe."
Sombra motioned to a black cloth lying beside his throne. "What the hey are you Daring's words died on her mouth as the robed figures dropped their hoods. A row of bloody faces stared at her through glassy eyes under battered pith helmets. "It's a daring doozy!" Swirly shouted.
Sombra chuckled and said, "You'll be needing it very soon."
He flicked the glass aside and stood up as it shattered on the floor. "Not cool, Twilight. Not cool," said Rainbow Dash. Twilight leaned over her screen and grinned mischievously at her friends. Roll for initiative. To be continued.